I'm gonna make a video on discussing the differences between Republicans and Democrats in this country. But mostly, before discussing Republicans and Democrats specifically, we're all gonna have to use different terms. So we're gonna use conservatives as a term. Oh, so basically, the Republican Party, the way they process and their algorithm, their thought process, and their uh, heuristic algorithm uh, procedure, methodology. Um, it's very it's very much like, let's just say it's a risky methodology for the average person. So the average person, they use their criteria, procedure, algorithm. It could get them arrested in the United States, right? So um, that's one of the reasons some of the presidents that are Republican tend to be. There's a few that are memorable for even decades, like Ronald Reagan, for example. So um, I thought Abraham Lincoln was Republican, but that's like different. The Republican Party was much different in 1800. So um, conservative is slightly the term is loosely defined over many different countries' politics. So this is of course there are Republican parties outside the U.S. It's just not named the grand old Republican Party. It's named. It has different names in other countries. So it might loosely have the letters that the word Republican has. Just it's probably not like it's probably like a different color too, right? Let's just imagine the color was blue, right? So or a blue, a political party in a different country, being blue. But the idea is, generally, um, conservative or right wing tend to be um, motivated by the personality type of INTJ. Um, Now let's clarify that the Republican Party is not INTJ. Their thought process is actually closer to ESTJ, their algorithm heuristic method. So let's try to elaborate this in a way that people can understand. Let's see. INTJ, their methodology is. I have done some research. It's very like, just imagine if you did a past life regression for 10 hours. I guess there are many equivalents to this, like if you did yoga for 30 hours, or if you went on like a super deep religious retreat, equivalent to, I don't know, 6 consecutive months. Just imagine that, right? Just imagine, there's a lot of people who are employed who cannot, like 6 consecutive months might be too much. Perhaps they are afforded 2 consecutive months, not 6. That's way too many. And 4 consecutive months is a lot. But 6 consecutive months, for religious retreats, in my opinion, the minimum required. Let's see. For that type of person, just imagine that kind of experience. You only remember the essential parts of your past lives, or in the religious retreat, you have you get a lot of you get a certain energy that's like very. So that's kind of very similar to INTJ. It doesn't mean that they can't, experience, the joys of love and romance and, and stuff like that. In fact, they're actually very, they can with the right person, right? And they certainly could. They prioritize certain things, right? So in a way, it's difficult to explain. But when I look at just a sampling of the conservative parties in other countries, you get the sense that I get the sense that they tend to they're very serious, right? In contrast, the liberal or left-wing parties tend to be, in terms of, I could just look at the leaders they have as prime minister, they're very not as serious, right? I mean, obviously, there are some serious folks in those, as politicians. As a whole, I get the collective vibe of the left wing in other countries, and of course the Democratic Party. I get the sense that they're very, not like nearly as serious. And what I mean by serious is like, I've read some fiction books where it's like prophecies and stuff, and there's a lot of seriousness there. I'm talking about like that. Actually, a lot of people don't really understand like the fictional realm of even anime. I think a lot of people don't understand. The conservatives are very serious like that. And it's like, which means that the folks that gets arrested when Republican or I'm sorry, conservative, not Republican, prime minister tends to be, let's just say they broke an oath of some sort, and the punishment is very harsh. Is it not? Is it fair? Of course not. But they broke an oath, and the oath, it's like, it's now, of course, that doesn't mean all prisoners in these other countries broke an oath, but a significant amount did. So, it's anyway, that's basically what it is. I'm not saying that folks that are arrested when it's that's different. I can't just summarize politics like that. I think folks that understand politics tend to explain it in different ways. I tend to explain it in a way that's, let's just say, very much like if you were to learn this subject in grade school, right? Of course, what's different is if I was a teacher, I most certainly would grade it differently, like very differently. The grading technique I would have is a little extreme by most cases. Let's see. Again, if I was, if I actually took courses in teaching, then, I would certainly, for example, let's say if I had a bad grade, and if I were to take a course like that, it's like, that explains that. Let's see, so that's probably one of the reasons I'm not allowed to be a teacher, because, you actually have to complete the courses, right? And not just one or two, but like at least like half a dozen, right? So, and that's certainly important for a lot of reasons. So, even though we all know there's a bunch of cases where, I watched the news, I see this teacher get arrested for whatever reason, right? So, they passed all those courses with, at least like a B or whatever, or a B minus. And still, they got the license, and they probably was teaching for at least a few years, and they get arrested for whatever reason, right? So, it's like, it doesn't mean that we have to, it doesn't mean that you have to change, like, it's like, that's the thing. Politics is, different by different countries, right? So, let's see, I haven't really explained much about the Democrats, where they are. Definitely ESFJ. The simple terms is that they do care about fairness. The alpha types, which use, introverted thinking, extroverted feeling, introverted sensing, and extroverted intuition. The only problem is they're not so great at defining what that is. That confuses the other 12 types. All right. The rare offer that actually takes the time to explain it, or a rare YouTuber or whatever, right? Or a rare random user from some random social media website. It's very difficult to find. Yeah. So, let's say you can't find it. It's just very difficult. All right. That's it.